Yeah, that's pretty good.
18 squared.
Alrighty. Oh, sorry. Alright, let's run through at least a few of these. Keeping in mind that constant and consistent review is your best friend. You can be doing this on your own. To help you remember stuff. Alright, so what do we do to complete the square?
Get the 2 out of the way.
Gotta get the 2 out of the way, and we get rid of it by dividing. You just get rid of it. So x squared plus 4x minus 6. Alright, then what?
And you divide, oh, you have to do the 6 over.
Gotta move the 6 over, leaving a gap in here to remind myself that I'm gonna find a number that goes in there. And what's the number that's gonna go in there?
4.
Half of 4 squared. So I'm gonna add 4 to both sides. This side then will always be a perfect square. And what perfect square is this? X plus 2. This right here is x plus 2. And then I'll square both sides. So x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 10. And x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 10. I heard somebody back there say, does the square root of 10 simplify? No, because it's 2 times 5, and I need 2 of something to simplify.
If we did it using a separate equation, would you count it wrong?
What do you mean, like the quadratic formula? Yeah, I'll count it wrong. What do the directions say? You gotta complete the square if it says complete the square. Now, if you wanna check your answer by using the quadratic formula, that's fine. You should get the same answer if you use the quadratic formula.
Where do you get the 4 again?
Half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. Alright, now my own style of doing this problem, which may or may not be your style, my own style is to clean up the parentheses first. So I'm not even worrying about this. I'm just cleaning up what's in here. The 2 and the 3 don't reduce. But what happens to these? They come down, but there's already 10 of them down there. So there's already 10 down there. 4 more are coming down, so now I'm going to have 14 of them down there. Nothing moves here because I have a positive 5 and a positive 3, but I can cancel some out and be left with y squared on the top.
Wait, can you explain that again?
Jake, y over y. Cancel, cancel, cancel.
Oh.
Now, what does this negative do? Flips the whole shebang. So the whole thing is flipping. And now, instead of negative 2 exponent, now it's just a 2 exponent. And then I just square everything and I'll be done. So 3 squared is 9. X to the 28th over 4 y to the 4th. And there is our final answer. Now I'm going to write the equation of the line. Remember, this is stuff we've already been over. We're rushing through it because it's reviewed. It's reviewed. You can go back and study your notes, watch videos, look at examples from homework, whatever, but this is review. Write the equation of the line. So what do I have to do first? Find the slope. So 10 minus 8 over 1 minus negative 3. So 2 over 4 or 1/2. Now I'm going to pick a point. Doesn't matter which point I pick, so I'm going to pick that one. So y minus 10 equals 1/2 x minus 1. Now, if the directions had said point slope, I'd be done. That is it, right there, I'm done. But the directions say answer in slope intercept, which means I have to go a couple more steps. I'll distribute and add 10 to the other side. So again, this, you've got to pay attention to the directions. This is point slope. This is slope intercept, which is the way it wants it, okay? You don't need a calculator. Do not be lazy bums. You can do this. All right, what does this mean?
Distance.
Distance. And we know distance is this. And what do we do underneath that radical?
X minus x squared.
Subtract the x's. So 5 minus 7, these are x's. Make sure you're doing x with x. And you square it. And then y minus y, and square that. Five minus 7
2.
squared.
4.
Negative 3 minus 2. 5 squared. 25. So our distance is root 29, and we're lucky because that doesn't break down. If it did, we would, right? So if we got root 28, let's say we got root 28, then we would have to break this down into 2 root 7, but that one doesn't, so we're finished. What's the midpoint? No. Midpoint is average, and when you average, you add. So 5 plus 7 divided by 2, 6. Negative 3 plus 2 divided by 2, there's your midpoint, average. Number 5. Okay, I gotta multiply these together without a calculator. Oh my, we can do that easily. What is 6 times 2? 12. I have 11. And I have negative 7. This, I'm not done. Because the rule for scientific notation is you can only have one number in front of the decimal. So you can't have 12 here. You have to make that 1.2. That's a scientific notation rule. And when I move that decimal point one place, that makes this number smaller, so this is going to have to get bigger. So however you think about it, this is the answer you want to come up with. That's your answer. What is the slope of a line perpendicular to this one? Well, I need to find the slope of this one. I know to do a perpendicular slope, it's the negative reciprocal or the opposite reciprocal. but I don't know what the slope of this line is. How do I find the slope of this?
Get
Y by itself. So would you agree that the slope of this line is -2/5?
Yes.
Which means the perpendicular slope will be positive 5/2? What property is that? Inverse of multiplication. Make sure you not only say inverse, but you also say what operation it is. It'll either be times or add. And this one is multiply. Okay? All right, I'll do one more problem of one kind. So one more problem of one kind. Ronan?
I just have a question about one of them. For number 3, can you use any of the 2 parentheses for the equation?
Yep. So who's got one problem of one kind?
Completed square.
Completing the square.
Oh, you can make it one up.
All right, here we go. What's the first thing we're gonna wanna do?
Do the 3 by
We gotta divide everything by
3.
3. So x squared plus 6x minus 2. All right, then what?
Get the 2 over.
Move the 2 over and leave the gap because you're gonna find the number that you have to put in here.
Yeah.
And how do we find that number?
Divide the 6 by 2.
Half
square.
of 6
Square.
divided by, half of 6 squared, right, so divide this by 2, you get 3, squared is 9, add it to both sides. This whole side then becomes a perfect square quantity, and what would it be in this case? X plus 3 equals 11. Square root both sides, so x plus 3 equals plus or minus root 11. And x then ends up equaling -3 plus or minus root. Okay? Alrighty. Tomorrow we have a quiz over that stuff. Alright, let's get our notes out and pick up where we left off.
Say we don't get a calculator for that one lump.
Charles, did I
I
do
did that.
that?
Just made sure.
Fine, keep confident. Alright, find the dimensions of this window. Okay, so we are on page 7, and we are ready to tackle this problem. Ay is right. This one's gonna be kind of yucky, but we can do it. Now, all we know is that the area of the whole thing is 200. That's the whole thing. So this window is really in 2 pieces. You have a square and you have a semicircle. Well, what's the area of the square? Length times width, which in this case is x times x. So the square is just x squared. Now, how about a circle? How do you find the area of a circle?
Pi r squared.
Pi r squared. So a circle is pi r squared.
Oh, yeah.
What would half a circle be then?
1/2.
1/2 pi r squared. So the area of this is 1/2 pi r squared. Tell me about r. What's r?
Radius.
Well, yeah, but what is it in terms of this problem?
Half the x.
Half of x. Isn't this 1/2 x?
Yeah.
Isn't that x? So that's half of x. So your radius is half of x.
Uh-huh.
So we need 1/2 pi 1/2 x squared. 1/2 pi, and then r is 1/2 x squared. And that has to equal 200. So we have x squared plus, okay, let's clean this up.
1/4 x squared.
This is going to be 1/4 x squared, but it's times 1/2, so it's
2/4. 1/2.
1/8,
Yeah.
1/4 times 1/2. So 1/8 pi x squared. So again, this is 1/2 pi times 1/4 x squared. So there's an 8, a pi, and an x squared. Is that all right? Now, see how both chunks of the problem have an x squared? So let's go ahead and factor out the x squared. GCF. What am I going to have in my parentheses then if I take out the x squared? 1 plus 1/8 pi equal to 200. Are you still with me on that? So what would x squared be?
Divide.
I'm going to divide. So this is going to look really bad, but it's okay. We're going to do, Charlie, we're going to do this on our calculator. 200 over 1 plus 1/8 pi. Would everybody agree with that? I'm dividing that over. Okay, so let's type this into our calculator. $200 divided by parentheses 1 plus 1 divided by 8 pi, close parentheses. Tell me if you got 143.60604.
Yeah.
That's what you should have gotten. If you got that, you typed it in right.
Where's
I heard
pi?
somebody say, where's pi?
Plus.
It's a second button. So second over here. So this is what should be sitting on your calculator right now. These parentheses you need. We're dividing by the whole shebang. Okay? Now, what do I still need to do though? That is not the answer because that's x squared. So, the easiest way to do this, honestly, is just to use your little caret button and say 0.5. Raise it to the 1/2 power. So raised to the 1/2 will square root it. Okay, now you can square root it other ways, so if you have a way, that's fine. You should end up with 11.98357376.
Do you want us to write the whole number?
No, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But that's what should be showing on your calculator. If you got something different, then you're doing something wrong. That's what you wanna have. Now, what was the question?
The width, I'm asking for the width.
Find the width of the window. So this was X. Is X the width of the window?
Yeah.
Yep, so that's the answer. It doesn't tell me how to round it, so let's round it to the nearest thousand. So the nearest thousandth would be right here. Now remember, if this digit is 5 or more, we actually round up. So it's gonna be 11.983. What was my unit? Feet? Not feet squared. When I do an area, we're doing the width of the window. So it's plain.
94. Gonna be 94.
Yeah, I said round up and then I didn't. Thank you. You do round up. Okay? I know, woo. That's a big one. Probably won't be a test question. Could be though.
Oh, please.
Maybe a bonus, we'll see.
Please.
Okay, number 7, this is totally switching gears now. Finding the center and the radius of a circle. So this is like totally not this. I actually thought we did this before, but we didn't. Let's review something I know we talked about. If we had a circle that was x minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 25, if we had a circle like this, where would the center of that circle be?
2, 3,
2, negative 3. And the radius would be the square root of that number. So if your circle looks like this, then it's really easy to find the center. The center is positive 2, negative 3, and the radius is the square root of that number, so it would be 5. Your equation doesn't look like this. So we need to make that equation look like this. We need to build a couple of squared quantities. So guess what we're gonna do? Complete the square. That's how you're gonna make those squared quantities. So let's group the x's together, the 2 x pieces, and let's leave a gap. Because we know we're gonna need a gap to make an x parentheses, right? And then let's group our y's together and leave a gap, because that's going to be our y parentheses. The 5 is already over there. But remember, if I fill a gap over here, I got to fill one over there. Agreed? All right, so let's talk about filling the gaps. I hope I remember to turn this on. Okay, so I'm going to fill this gap. This first one, what am I going to put in here?
4, 16, 16.
Divide by 2 and square. So did you say 16? And that's on both sides. Well,
25.
half will be 5, but squared is 25. Both sides?
36.
So I'm going to have x minus 4, y plus 5.
46.
What is all that?
46.
46. So where's my center?
4, negative 5.
4, negative 5. What's my radius? Square root of 46. Don't mess with that, because it's 2 times 23. Do you have 2 of anything?
No.
So it's done. I know it's 2 times 23, but I need 2 of something. So it's just root 46.
Why do we change the signs for centers?
What now?
Like, we have -4 and 5, why do we do 4 and -5?
It's whatever makes that 0. It's always the opposite. It's just like when you solve equations. It's the opposite. Okay? Alright, on your own or with your partner, try B. Alright, how are you?
Good.
Got it? I can do these. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good news, you're going to be able to do our next thing too. So we're ready for P6. P5 will be due on Friday. Did you look at the practice quiz? Focus on that. All right. So, P6 is all about complex numbers, these things with eyes. We have simply named, we want to talk about these two numbers. There's nothing special about them, I made them up. But we want to talk about these two numbers, so we've given them names. This is Z sub 1, this is our first complex number, and this is Z sub 2, our second complex number. So when it says, find this, it just means add those two together. Well, what do you think the answer is? If you add them together. Take a wild guess. You'll be right. 7 minus 3i. How did she do that? Combine like terms. That's it. Combine like terms. Treat those i's like x's. Add the parts, plain numbers, and add the parts with x's, i's. Is that okay with everybody? So now I want to subtract them. So this is going to be 3 plus 2i minus 4 minus 5i. So what do I have to be careful about? That negative is going to distribute. So it's just like the last problem, except I do have to distribute that negative. So -1 plus 7i. Does that seem okay? I told you this was easy. 3z sub 1. What do you think that is? 3z sub 1. 9 plus 6i. just 3 times this number? Good. What about z sub 1 times z sub 2?
Foil.
You FOIL. This is going to be a parentheses times a parentheses. So we're going to FOIL it just like we would if these were x's. We're doing exactly the same thing. So that will be 12 minus 15i plus 8i minus 10i squared.
Yeah. So it's plus
And
10.
the negative for plus 10.
So we remember, very good. Kudos to Hollis and Ludington, because we remember that I squared is -1. So this is going to become a plus 10, which can get combined with our 12 and make 22.
Minus 7.
And those add up to -7. Perfect. Man, we're feeling awesome about this. Okay, what about division?
You have to multiply both.
So we want to divide the first one by the second one. So this is our problem.
Multiply
Let's
the bottom by 4 plus 5i.
We're gonna multiply by 4 plus 5i. Is that ringing bells for all of you?
Yeah.
Anybody know what we call 4 plus 5i?
The reciprocal.
Not the reciprocal. No. I mean, yes, but it's called the conjugate. Remember that word?
Yeah.
It's called the conjugate. So we need to multiply, whenever we have an I in the bottom, we're gonna multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. And the conjugate is just the same thing with that sign changed. And then we get to FOIL again.
Yeah.
On the top and the bottom. Okay, so here we go. So I just got my foiling up here. Now I have to start cleaning stuff up. 10i squared is going to be minus 10. So on top I'm going to have 2
Plus 8i.
Plus
23i.
23i.
Over 41.
And then these cancel, don't they? And that's why we do it.
Smarty pants.
That's why we do the conjugate. Those cancel. This becomes a plus 25. So I think I heard somebody say 41. And I think that's right.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
So you guys remember all this?
So you got
You got it.
We're all good over here.
Okay. How about this next set of problems? Now, the rule is, when you have a negative under a radical, you pull out the I, right? You all know that. The rule is that has to be done first. If you have a negative under a radical, that must be step 1. So, I'm going to rewrite this as I root 16, which is 4i. And then I'll rewrite this one. This one will be 5i. We good? Then I'm going to multiply them together. And my final answer is -20. All right with everybody? All right, you do B.
Oh,
I heard somebody over there say -3√5. That's the right answer.
Where does the I get when you, like, is it just turned to a negative?
there's a new negative sign.
Or like the I squared, yeah, where's that?
I squared's -1.
Oh.
Jake, we've been talking about that we've done a million problems that way. Right? I
Yeah.
square, every time you
Yeah.
see an I squared, it becomes -1. Yeah. Right? We're gonna find some more I squareds in this next problem. This is a monster problem. Actually, I'm just starting with it. Everybody okay with -3√5?
Yes.
Okay. All right, is there any volunteer who would like to come up and tackle 3A?
I got her. I'll do it. I'll do it.
And the rest of us are gonna do it at our seats to check Dana's work. This is gonna be a lot of You guys talking about math? No, you should be talking about math. And you should have a pencil in your hand, and you should be doing the problem. Did I say it?
Yeah.
It's the same I split.
Rudy got it.
You can't be down already. And you can't have an eye at the bottom.
Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah, I think so.
Big dog.
We're gonna find out that don't let everybody vote.
I did that.
Oh, you had a foil back.
Hey.
He foiled the top and got 4 plus 3i. Is that what you got when you foiled the top? And then he had to multiply by the conjugate, so now he's foiling some more. He got 26 plus 7i over 29. What do you think about that? Thumbs up? You good? Perfect. All right, there's one more kind of, thank you, Dana. Good work. There's one more kind of ugly thing here. And let's walk through this together carefully. Okay? Would everybody agree, as ugly as it is, it's a foil?
Yeah.
All right, so first times first. 3. Outsides are going to make 2i root 7. Insides are going to make negative lasts, this is where the excitement comes. We're gonna have minus 2i squared root 21. Remember, the root 3 and the root 7 can be multiplied because they're both roots. The 2 and the root 7 cannot be multiplied because one's a number, one's a root. All right, is there any kind of cleanup that can be done?
No, we'll just have the negative 2i squared.
This can become plus
2.
2 root 21,
Yeah.
and absolutely nothing else can be done. Because the only way I could combine these would be if the radicals matched.
Yeah.
They don't, so that is my final answer. That was easy? I love it, Owen.
Not easy.
All right, I need 2 volunteers now. I'm gonna erase this. Are we good with this?
Hey, Garby. Hey, Garby.
All right, and I need, not Dana again. We love you, Dana, but I'll let someone else come up. Somebody come up and do C, and somebody else do D. You can come with a partner. You do not have to come by yourself. There's C, and here is D. Okay, let's go volunteers. Thank you. I need a D volunteer. How about a young lady? We haven't had any young ladies.
We don't do
You'll do it? Okay. Help the
Are you a young
ladies
lady?
out.
Are you a young lady?
What?
Are you a young lady?
No, he's gonna help the young ladies. So the gentleman, jump in and do it.
I mean, I what?
Cut all of them by 3. There's an IEP.
Yeah, it's negative 5 times
I don't know.
There's an eye in there somewhere.
Alright.
Either.
Negative 6i.
Oh, shoot.
Now, for problem C, did you all FOIL?
Yeah.
Please tell me you FOIL, because that is a parentheses times a parentheses. He got negative 5 plus 12i. How does that look
You
to
don't do a
everybody?
negative.
Good?
You don't have to do a negative. You can do
Good? All right. Now,
Oh, no, I
Jake decided he was going to multiply top and bottom by negative 3i. His logic, I think, was that the original denominator is 0 plus 3i.
Yeah.
So the conjugate would be 0 minus 3i, which is the same as negative 3i. So he distributed up here and got negative 6i, and then he turned this into a plus 3 because it was a negative 3i squared. Does that make sense to everyone? And then that was over negative 9i squared, which he made a 9. So he's negative 6i plus 3 over 9 is what he got when he times the top and bottom by negative 3i. Now, is he done? Not quite, because all of these are divisible by 3. Now remember, just like before, you can't simplify unless they're all divisible. So you can make this negative 2i plus 1 over 3.
Yeah.
Some of you may have had 1 minus 2i over 3. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Now I want to talk about something for a second. Everything he did is perfect. Perfect. But remember, your objective is to get rid of the I on the bottom. That was the objective. So what would happen if I just times by plain I? It's still going to work, because what's it going to do on the bottom? It's going to give me a negative 3. And then I won't have, this 3, Jake, is what you ended up canceling out. So if you multiply by just I, you won't have to cancel. It doesn't make any difference at all. Just remember to cancel. Okay, perfect. We're gonna pause there. Stay in your seats. Do not act like wild animals.